Well, we get distracted by so many things in life, don't we? Our family has a really great example of this. One night after a very long day of getting everyone where they needed to be after dance and getting home, and I had just given up on trying to scrounge up dinner. And I thought, we're going to go through a drive-thru. So we were about ready to head to our favorite drive-thru and get some chicken strips. And I pull up to the drive-thru and I roll down the window and I start to order chicken strips and French fries. And Tika sitting next to me says, "Mom, this is Taco Bell." And in my embarrassment, you would have thought I would have said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm at the wrong place." No, I chose to just speed off out of that drive-thru and get out of there and go right next door to where we had intended to go. Now, the only real danger of that anecdote is that my children have something to tease me about for the rest of my life. I'm sure that one day in my memorial service, they will make sure that that story is shared about how distracted I was by all of the things of this life that I was trying to order chicken strips from a taco place. Well, distractions can be funny and they can make great stories that we share, but they can also be more than that, as we know. Today, we meet Jesus sharing a parable, and friends, isn't this a hard passage? I was telling everybody that we often consult StoryPath, this website that helps with children's books, pairing them to the lectionary. There just wasn't one for this passage. It was like they were saying, hey, you're all on your own on this one because this story is hard, isn't it? It's a difficult story. It's a challenging story. And then hearing the prophet alongside that, it makes it doubly hard, doesn't it? This passage follows a conversation between Jesus and the Pharisees about the love of money and the search for riches and true riches. In a commentary on this passage, Pastor Helen Montgomery Dubois reminds us that the formula for this passage is thought to be borrowed from an Egyptian tale. Two worlds talking about how the world is set up, the earthly life and the life beyond this one, how they are connected by the experience of death. Woven in between these two worlds are the haves and the have-nots. And there are such strong boundaries between the worlds that the two would never meet. And so once upon a time, there were two men separated by the division in their world. The separation was so strictly and clearly defined that neither would have any relationship with the other. We don't know if the rich man didn't see the poor man or if he simply chose to ignore him, perhaps distracted by all of the things of his life, all of the things that he was trying to get done in his life. But they never interact in the story. And although obviously the rich man has the means to do something for the poor man, it's the neighborhood dog that has more compassion for him than the rich man, coming to lick his sores. Now, it's important to note a cultural issue here, something that we would miss completely without some understanding of practices in this time and place. It was a part of the role of the wealthy to provide support, to provide alms for the poor, albeit self-serving, because it was also a way to hold one's status. But if you could give to the poor, you were powerful. And even more, there was often a bench outside homes where the poor could wait. And especially on feast days, one could expect food. Now, the detail about this rich man who feasted every day is not just talking about how much he enjoyed food. It means that Lazarus and perhaps others were there outside his home waiting to be fed, waiting to survive, quite literally, not breaking any law or asking for more than was due to them, but falling in line with the order of the day, the cultural rules that were set up in this time. I read somewhere that you can actually see these waiting benches with people on them in the site of Pompeii, evidence that society had set up, evidence of the neglect. And so the rich man denied Lazarus time and time again, completely ignoring that cultural code, walked past him every day, all the while knowing that he had a responsibility to him, and likely seeing the hunger and thirst, and certainly the desperation, if not in him, then in others around him. In life, the rich man had a role to play, a job to do, and he chose to ignore it, to let everything else get in the way, everything else be more important, perhaps to the point that he wasn't even seeing him any longer. Sometimes we become so distracted that things just go unnoticed to us, don't they? It's interesting the division in the earthly life portrayed here is far greater than that in the existence following this one. The rich man finally sees the poor man, but only when he is the one in need, when he is a desperate one, only when it's too late. And the rich man's family is far too out of reach as well. You heard that it wouldn't matter if the rich man did come back and warn his family. The words of Moses and the prophets were and are far more powerful, but if they didn't listen to them, why would they listen to their brother? At first, this seems kind of unreasonable, doesn't it? I mean, what's more powerful than the thought of someone we love coming back, or some old writings from people who have been long dead? Well, the truth is that the law was life and livelihood, and to live out the law meant strength in community, strength in relationships. And to really get that, we have to hear part of the law. It starts with this foundation in Deuteronomy 6. This will be familiar. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. Keep these words that I am commanding you today in your heart and recite them to your children. Talk about them when you are at home, when you are away, when you lie down, when you rise. Bind them as a sign on your hand. Fix them as an emblem on your forehead and write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Everything comes from this. Take this law and make it part of your being. It will not be easy, so you have to write it everywhere. Put it on your doorstop. You must see these words as you walk past the person in need. Write it on your arm if you have to. When you see that person on the bench with sores to which only the dogs will tend, you might even forget then. The needy will blend in with the background. You will become complicit in ways that you're not even able to see, so put these words in places where you will not forget, so that the poor will come into focus for you in every moment. That's the foundation. And so again, this parable talking about this rich man ignoring the need, the basic foundation, that's going against everything that they had grown to know and to be and how they related to God. And it's a call for us. You know, throughout history, the prophets call about this. Our prophet Amos, the farmer, far removed from the elite class, saw this. He saw the wage gap. He saw inequality. He saw the divide becoming just greater and greater all the time. Old Testament professor Catherine Schiffendecker points out that archaeology has shed some light on the setting that Amos describes. Excavations in Samaria unearthed a large collection of carved ivories from the 8th century BCE, the time of Amos, the beds of ivory. These excavations found striking differences between the 10th century BCE and the 8th century. In that earlier time, the houses were torn down, in the earlier time period, the houses of the town were of similar size to each other. But in the 8th century BCE, there was a section of those larger houses, while the majority of the city had smaller, more cramped homes. And if we take Amos as our guide, it seems that while Israel's upper class enjoyed luxuries, They did so at the expense of the poor who were in danger of being sold into slavery, who fell into debt, and so Amos chastises the rich. Those who, like the rich man in the parable that we heard, ignore the plight of the poor. Alas, for those who are at ease in Zion and those who feel secure on Mount Samaria, the judgment of God that God pronounces is on the rich people of the northern and southern kingdoms alike. Those who lie on beds of ivory and lounge on their couches and eat lambs from the flock and calves from the stall, who sing idle songs but are not grieved over the ruin of Joseph. In other words, you might just be too busy reveling in the good things that you haven't learned from the past. This was not the economic system that biblical law saw. The Jubilee legislation from Leviticus 25 mandated a system whereby no one could accumulate too much wealth. Every family had land to support themselves. Even if they had to sell their land because of illness or drought, they got it back in the Jubilee year. That's the standard that people were to strive to fulfill. But the 8th century Israel did not embody that vision of economic justice. And so this judgment we heard from Amos, from this prophet, it's harsh. Those who enjoy luxuries while ignoring the poor will not only be considered the notables of the first nation, they will also be the first to go into exile. Don't forget, Assyria conquered Israel and took its people, its noble and powerful first, into exile some 40 years after Amos prophesied. These words are tough, but they are a call to do better and to be better. Amos calls out complacency, calls out those who think that social injustice and economic equality, that the wage gap are just how things are. He calls out those who have time to lounge while people around them can't get enough to eat, can't pay their bills, can't promise safety and security for their family. And the judgment comes out and comes to those who believed they were God's chosen people. There is responsibility in being people of God. And this prophet invites them to think about that, to notice that. But seeing is difficult because actually choosing to see is nearly impossible almost. I mean, these are such difficult nudgings and commands. Because seeing doesn't just mean handing some cash out the window or even offering a handful of groceries here and there. Seeing means realizing our place in others' suffering, our complicity. It means being really honest about what creates the chasm between the wealthy and the poor. It means choosing not to revel in our lounging, not to be caught up in our distractions, but to get up from our lounging and do the work. It means serving those who come to the door. It means serving those who come to our borders, not turning them away or shipping them off, but actually seeking solutions that honor humanity as much as we expect our own humanity to be honored. As Matthew 25 tells us, it means seeing Jesus in the poor. You know, these words of the prophet, these parables, don't exist for us today to think, wow, that was bad. That was a bad time in the world. They should have really changed their ways. They messed up. Friends, they are for us. And we should feel the sting of the heat on our tongues. We too should feel called out by the prophet. We too should feel the urgency. We too should stop reveling in our lounging and see those who are crumpled up on benches waiting for scraps. And that is all hard to hear. We are looking for hope. And friends, the good news is that we have these words. Actually, even having them is good news. We have a God who loves us enough to give us these words and to give us the choice and the ability to listen to them, to get out of our complacency, to see and to revel not in our lounging, but to revel in the love and grace of God that calls us to act, to do, to be, and to show love. And friends, I can't think of better news, not just for us, but for the world. May it be so.